We all know how important reputation is in this industry, so it's easy to see why more and more pros are turning to Anderson to build their projects and craft their legacies. Anderson has earned the trust of pros time and time again for over 120 years. They will work with you to build more efficiently, stay on budget, and earn more referrals by providing high-quality products and support, making your installs easier and confidence stronger. See how Anderson can help you craft your legacy at trustanderson.com. So I love this next question. This comes from Jenna. Jenna writes, a recent windstorm deposited a few asphalt shingles around our house. I think we may need a new roof. My guess is that if I call a roofer, he or she will say we definitely need a new roof, whether we need one or not. I say this because I recently read how customers for contractors of all kinds, not just roofers, decide that they had a good experience based on the friendliness of their contractor, with little mention of how well the job was done. Is how friendly or personable a contractor or roofer is a good indicator of their skill at their trade? How do you find a good roofer or general contractor? Grant, how did you pick the subcontractors that worked for you in your contracting business?
Yeah, so what you'll find is the best, generally the people who you want to have working with you or for you are the people who don't need to advertise much. So word of mouth. For me, it was always, I would always pick based on quality. So, and a dedication to quality, even over price. So I would usually not use the cheapest subcontractors, but I would know that the things would be done correctly. And the other one for me was a guy who's busy, but he's busy enough that he can't jump on things right away, but he's not so busy that he's underwater. Is usually a good indication that somebody, one, if they have work, that means they're probably doing something right a lot of times, and it's sustained for years at a time. And number two is if they're in that realm where they're busy enough, but they're not too busy, it usually to me indicated a pretty good, like they had they had things figured out and had a good system in place for running their company, and they were efficient at getting done what they needed to get done. So for me, it was a lot of that and a lot of just gut feeling. You'll find, and I'm sure Randy can speak to this. A lot of it comes down to gut feeling. At least when you're hiring subcontractors to work for you.
Randy, what skills or attributes do you think make a good contractor or subcontractor?
Well, I was lucky. All I had to do was hire my brother. I had half my subcontractors taken care of.
That's your answer, Jenna. Hire Randy's brother.
Yeah. He was the electrician, the plumber, the heating, cooling person. He did the excavating. He put the sewer system in. So we had a lot of that covered. That was easy for me. The other thing nice about that is I was able to do a lot of training with them. So when we got into the electrical plumbing, especially later in my career, I got to work with them very closely on what I wanted to see as far as penetrations through the structure, how we're going to insulate or how we're going to work around this or sizing. All that stuff was stuff I had I could really put my input in and then train his crews to be able to do it. But if you don't have that opportunity, if you're looking for a different for another contractor, talk to other contractors. If you're looking for a sub, other general contractors, see if they can.
Are your competitors going to be willing to share one of their most precious resources, which are good subcontractors? Come on.
I got a lot of them from. Of course, I was working as a subcontractor for some of these other contractors as well. So I had a different relationship. When I was tiling, I would come in and tile for other contractors as well. But when I needed a painter, for instance, I would talk to another contractor and yeah, this guy's good, and I'd approach him. And a lot of times, the one condition I got from the other contractor was if I need him, you can't have him at that time. You're going to have to wait. He's mine first, then you get him. That was the condition. But a lot of times they some of these subcontractors would prefer to work with other contractors.
Sure.
They want to. It's easier. They get a relationship. It's repeat business. Being a homeowner, it's tougher. It's hard to find somebody. And at that point, what I would do is probably start with if you've got a local builders association, chat with them and see if they have a list of contractors that at least you get a group of names that you can start with.
Grant, what does a homeowner do to find the right contractor?
Okay, so before this show, I said to Patrick, "Now you're going to get me on a rant," and here we go.
Oh boy.
So, to your first point of, is a contractor's, what their personality a good indicator of their skill or trade? The answer is no. So I worked with one person I can think of specifically who he'd be kissing babies and stealing their lunch money out of their back pocket. And I mean, honestly, some bad things went on. That was not somebody that I used, as in I knew him and followed some projects around after him. So that's tough. Like I would say some contractors have a tendency to want to be salesmen. It's really hard. It's kind of hard to. The problem with a homeowner is it's hard to trust your gut because it's easy for a contractor to come on, put a sales face, and kind of pull wool over your eyes. So I'd be very cautious with that. I go back to the same thing. If somebody's not business with us, yep, we can do this tomorrow, that's probably a red flag, unless they're a gigantic company or there is a very extenuating circumstance, like a big project, got rescheduled because of permits or something like that. That's one thing for sure to look at. The other thing I would say is somebody comes out and says, yep, okay, the price is this. I mean, if it's like a water heater, that's one thing, but say you're getting a price for a remodel. Somebody spits you back a number in an hour or less, probably didn't put much effort into it. I mean, for me, it would take me 2 weeks to put together a number between actually physically working for my other projects, then coming home, putting prices together. You want somebody who puts the time into your project, even at that point. And then the last thing I was going to say is typically I've found, and this isn't all the time, but I found if you can find a contractor who self-executes a lot of trades, you're typically going to get better quality. Perfect example is what Randy just talked about. Now, that was his brother, but still kind of in a way under his thumb. So, if Randy builds a house, a lot of his trades are in-house, right? You have a thumb on the quality. That's a good thing. We work with a couple of really good contributors. Josh Edmonds up in Cooperstown, New York is somebody I can think of. He self-executes almost all of his trades. And his quality is phenomenal. It's off the charts. I worked before I went on my own, a company here in Pennsylvania who self-executes a lot of their trade work. To me, find somebody who has boots on the ground, actual craftsman working for them, who does at least some portion of the work on the project, and I think you're going to end up better off. I think people get into trouble when they hire people, and then those people hire people to do the work.
Join us this September 18th and 19th at the beautiful Endicott College campus in Beverly, Massachusetts for the Fine Homebuilding Summit, where the best minds in residential design and construction come together. This premier 2-day event is all about elevating the way we design, build, and run successful, inspiring construction businesses. You'll hear from some of the most respected leaders in the industry as they share insights on the future of home building. You'll experience engaging sessions, interactive roundtable discussions, supplier exhibits, and hands-on networking. We'll also be recording a Fine Homebuilding Podcast live from the summit floor. Head over to summit.finehomebuilding.com to register today. Use the promo code FHB Podcast for $50 off the 2-day all-access ticket. Can't wait to see you there. We've all seen the signs at the auto repair shop, and folks in the design and build sectors of contracting talk about like you're supposed to pick two things of price, speed, and quality, right? Is that a legit simplification, Randy Grant?
I think it's a simplification. For me, price for work on my house anyway is if I'm going to hire something else, price is going to be not my main focus. It's going to be the quality of the work, the longevity. Is it going to last? I don't want to pay for a second time in a short amount of time. In a year or two, or 5 years, or 10 years. I put a new roof on my house, for instance. I'm going to pick a product that's going to be more durable. I'm not going to go with the cheapest shingle I can find. It's going to be something that's got some quality. And then I'm looking for an installer that I know is going to do quality work, and that's not going to be the cheapest. It's, I can get somebody that's going to do a much faster, a much cheaper job, but um, I'm going to do the work though. I'm going to try to figure out who these people are. I'm going to talk to other contractors. I'm going to, like I said, mentioned earlier, maybe if I have to, I'll approach the local builders association just to get a list of names. I'm going to talk to their customers. Maybe I'll try to figure out where they're working and take a swing by the job site just to do a drive-by and see what it looks like. Is it neat? Is it, and it can be, especially shingling, can be a very messy project, right? They're scraping the stuff off. It's landing on the ground, and it looks like a mess. But if somebody is there picking up as they're going along, trying to make things look nice, they got things covered, things aren't getting damaged as it's coming off the roof. That's the kind of stuff that I'm going to be looking for.
Grant, I'm going to ask you a little different question. Have you ever gone with your second choice subcontractor, and how did it turn out? And it might have been to save money, or it might have been availability, or it might have been some other circumstance. What happened?
I think one time it was, I believe, painting, used somebody for availability, still a decent subcontractor. However, my other painter was just he was a level above almost everybody else. I had a really good painting, actually 2 really good painting contractors I worked with in my time. This other guy, he was good, but he was a speed painter. He was a production painter. And that just didn't match the homeowner's expectations for what they expected. And, anybody, I didn't sub a lot of stuff out, because of the quality part of it is, having my finger on quality to me was important. But everybody who worked for me knew, hey, like, we set very clear expectations up front. And it worked out okay, but let's say we had to end up repainting some walls on that project. So I was lucky because it was only paint. But typically, I think if you find who is going to do a good job. Another good question, and as a homeowner, this is an awesome question. If you're interviewing a contractor, say somebody comes out, throw them a wrench and be like, hey, so tell me about your last thing that went wrong on a job site and what you did. Because a lot of times they'll kind of it will throw them off guard. But a good contractor, I think Randy would agree with this, a good contractor will readily admit that they make mistakes all the time. Mm-hmm. And they'll readily tell you what they did to fix them. The contractor says, no, we don't make any mistakes. It's probably the one you don't want to work with.
None I've been convicted of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and honestly, a roofer who, has never had to go back and fix something, probably, I don't know if I trust that, because, I know some pretty darn good roofers who have had to take off. I actually know 2 specific situations where some pretty darn good roofers put a brand new roof on and had to go back and take it off the next week because it was the wrong color. So, man. It happens. This business is tough. So a good contractor is going to admit, one, that they're not infallible, and they'll probably be pretty open about joking and talking to you about that. That to me is a good sign too. If somebody is such in sales mode, they will not kind of drop their guard and real talk with you.
I would love to know how to explain it, but you mentioned earlier, Grant, about trusting your gut, and I don't know how someone develops that intuition, but contractors seem to have it. And anytime I didn't listen to my gut, I regretted it, I gotta say. And you always think that there's going to be some exception to why it's a good idea to ignore your intuition at the time, but I found it never to be very smart. What is that? And I think builders have a pretty good sixth sense about what they're getting into.
It has to do with being able to stay in business. If you're in business long enough, you learn. You like Grant said, you made mistakes. You learn from those mistakes, and you learn to not only read your subcontractors but your customers. to make sure that you're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for you. I mean, that's key.
I when I first went beside my accountant, make a joke to me one day, and he goes, hey, you want to know how you become a millionaire in your first 5 years in business and as a construction company? I said, how? He said, start with 2. And it's true. I mean, Randy can tell you this. There's things go wrong, you lose money, and a lot of it is when you have your team and you develop your team, people you can trust. Things are a lot easier to do.
That's what we were talking about, right? Subcontractors are key to success, and boy, finding the right ones is a huge part of getting things right.
Yeah, I'm thinking like another thing, and because we're talking a lot, it's easy because Randy and I are both contractors, so it's easy for us to talk about what it's like from the contract point of view. I think another thing to remember from a homeowner point of view, I definitely echo what Randy said, is go drive by their job sites, look for their signs, see what it looks like, see if it looks safe. A roofer especially, see if it looks safe. And then the other thing is, there is manufacturer installer programs. Now I know some people who are like GAF, one of the GAF's highest level, and I wouldn't ever install them to install my roof. However, sometimes you can also find, go to your building supplier, a local building supplier, somebody roofing specific. A lot of times they can direct you to someone, and especially if you're saying, hey, I want the best guy out here. It's usually a mid-level account. It's usually not the guy who's ordering all the shingles. It's usually the guy who's probably sitting somewhere in the middle with his quantity, but he's got a crew who does good work.
I fully agree with that recommendation, because folks who sell building materials know who's good. They visit the job sites. They know who's organized. They know who's not catering to the bottom feeders in the business. And I think that's a very good recommendation.
Oh, and for roofers, I got another one when you're driving by, is look how they load the roof with shingles.
Mm-hmm.
So what should folks look for, Grant?
So when you bring all the shingles onto the roof, especially on a pitched roof, they're very heavy, right? So some people lay them over the ridge, so they like bend over the top. That's usually a bad practice. It damages the shingles. If you see somebody doing that, like with every bundle of shingles, that's probably not your guy. So when I was in high school, I roofed for a local small town guy, and he was good. I mean, we were not the fastest roofer out there, but I tell you, like, we probably never went back for a leak. Like we cared about getting it right. And what we do is we nail 2x4s across the top of the ridge, like about 2 feet down. So we went bundle on one side, bundle sitting flat over the ridge, but we spread them across the entire weight of the roof. If you see guys loading shingles in the middle of the, dead center of the roof and just stacking them up, that's not a good sign. The other one I always found is if it's a very, very large roof. So if it's like a shed roof, you might not get boom truck service, but if it's a huge roof and that contractor is carrying those shingles up by hand, there's some questions to be had there, because no good contractor is not going to boom truck shingles to the roof. So why is right away? Why is he carrying pallets of shingles up by hand?
Good question. My guess is that folks are either undocumented and working cheaper than you can pay for that delivery service, or they've been shut off from buying stuff because of failure to pay. And
exactly.
Good points too. Well, it is a fantastic question, and I hope listeners who have thoughts on how you find a good contractor, whether you're a homeowner or a GC, I would love to hear your thoughts, because as we've been talking about, it is key to doing a good job.